Most people have no idea that for more than a century, Jamaica has been the chef of the world's economic feast, but never the guest. Picture it clearly. You grow the crops, you do the labor, you season and cook the meal, and just when you're ready to eat, someone else sweeps in, takes your plate, adds a tiny garnish, and then sells it back to you for 10 times the price. That's not trade. That's exploitation. And Jamaica has lived under that arrangement for far too long. But something historic just happened. Jamaica slammed its fist on the table and flipped the whole setup. The government has banned the export of raw materials. Coffee, maize, gold, fish. None of it leaves unless it's processed, packaged, and branded on the island itself. It's a radical shift that stunned international markets, rattled big corporations, and left the World Bank clutching its pearls. Today, we're breaking down the 10 truths behind this bold move. And believe me, it's not just about Jamaica. This is about rewriting the global playbook for every exploited nation. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe. 'Cause here, we uncover the stories they don't want you to hear. Number 1. Colonial railways, built to extract, not connect. When the British Empire introduced railway lines across Jamaica in the 19th century, locals thought it was a sign of progress. After all, trains meant modernity, faster travel, and better connections. But the truth was darker. Those railways were not designed to connect Jamaican people with each other, nor to make life easier for farmers in rural parishes. They were designed like conveyor belts, running straight from sugar plantations, banana fields, and mines to Kingston's port. It wasn't development, it was extraction disguised as progress. Instead of carrying workers to new opportunities, those trains carried wealth out of the island and into European markets. Every banana that left, every ton of sugar shipped, every barrel of coffee beans transported meant one thing: Jamaica stayed in poverty while Europe sipped wealth in its drawing rooms. This history is why the new export ban matters. The railways symbolize Jamaica's role in the global economy, to extract, export, and be exploited. By cutting off raw exports, Jamaica is breaking the pattern, saying, "We will not be the basement of the global mansion anymore. From now on, we climb to the ground floor and eventually the penthouse." Number 2. Coffee, world fame, local poverty. Let's talk about coffee, specifically Blue Mountain coffee. If you've ever seen how coffee lovers around the world rave about it, you'd think Jamaica was swimming in riches. Smooth, balanced, luxurious, that's the reputation. Yet, most Jamaicans have never tasted that wealth. Here's why. For decades, Jamaica exported raw beans. Multinational corporations bought them cheap, roasted them in factories abroad, slapped fancy labels on them, and sold them at premium prices. The farmer in Portland Parish who grew those beans made cents per pound. But Starbucks or Nestle could turn the same beans into a $5 cup that sold in millions. The new policy changes everything. From now on, Jamaica will roast, package, and export coffee under its own name. Imagine walking into a cafe in Tokyo or Chicago and seeing Blue Mountain Jamaica bold on the bag, not hidden behind a European brand. That's more than money, it's ownership, authorship, and recognition. For the first time, Jamaica claims its seat at the table it has been cooking for. Number 3. Cotton and fashion, the runway robbery. Cotton tells the same story, but with an even crueler twist. Jamaica's cotton once fueled Europe's textile industry. Raw cotton left Kingston in bales, only to return as dresses, suits, and jackets displayed in Paris boutiques. Jamaican labor built European glamour, but Jamaicans themselves barely survived on scraps. Now picture the reversal. Instead of shipping raw cotton, Jamaica spins it, dyes it, and stitches it into fashion lines under Jamaican labels. Instead of pennies per kilo, the same cotton becomes $100 garments walking international runways. That's the power of processing. The multiplier effect. 1 kilo of cotton, transformed into something more, builds an economy instead of draining it. And cotton is just one case study. The same blueprint applies to gold, maize, fish, and coffee. Jamaica is declaring, why sell grapes when you can sell wine? Number 4. The ban, power move, not gamble. Critics call the move risky. They argue Jamaica could lose buyers who prefer raw inputs. But here's the truth. This isn't a gamble, it's a calculated power move. For decades, buyers dictated prices because they knew Jamaica had no choice but to sell raw. Now the tables have turned. If a company wants Jamaican coffee, it has to buy it roasted, packaged, and labeled. If it wants fish, it has to pay for the processed, frozen, and branded version. Alternatives? Not many. You can't replicate Blue Mountain coffee in Vietnam. You can't replace Jamaican waters with Norwegian fish overnight. The ban gives Jamaica leverage, and leverage is power. Number 5. Reclaiming authorship, the Jamaica brand. This isn't just economics, it's psychology. For decades, Jamaican products wore foreign labels. Consumers enjoyed the taste but never knew the source. The world drank Jamaican beans but saw Italian branding. They wore Jamaican cotton but saw Paris names. That invisibility ends now. Branding puts Jamaica front and center. And branding sells. Look at Nike. Look at Apple. People don't just buy products, they buy stories. And Jamaica's cultural story, its music, its language, its resilience, is one of the most powerful in the world. Attaching that story to its exports makes every product more than just a commodity. Makes it an experience. Number 6. From loading dock to global brand. For too long, Jamaica's economy looked like a giant loading dock. Ships pulled up, raw goods left, and that was the end of the story. But loading docks don't build wealth. They only transfer it. The new vision is different. Grapes leave as wine. Cotton leaves as fashion. Fish leaves as seafood brands. Jamaica stops being a loading dock and starts being a creative powerhouse. That's the transformation rich nations once made, and Jamaica is finally making it too. Number 7. The skills revolution. But let's be honest. Saying no raw exports is easy. Building industries is hard. Processing needs factories, machines, and skilled workers. And for generations, Jamaica's education system prepared students for colonial roles, clerks, secretaries, bureaucrats, not machine operators, technologists, or brand strategists. That's why education reform is part of this revolution. Vocational schools are training food technologists, fashion designers, packaging engineers, and digital marketers. Success no longer means escaping to New York or London. It means staying and building at home. The skills revolution is where the policy meets reality, and it's already unfolding. Number 8. Farmers, the new foundation. This policy also recenters the very people often ignored, farmers and fishers. In the old system, they were raw suppliers at the bottom of the chain. Now they are the foundation of the new skyscraper economy. Maize goes to mills. Fish goes to processing plants. Coffee goes to roasters. Farmers don't just sell, they partner. Villages that once produced raw maize now host small factories. Fisherfolk who once sold at the dock now co-own seafood companies. Instead of wealth draining away, it starts to circulate locally. Rural Jamaica becomes the heartbeat of national wealth. Women step into the spotlight, 2030 to 2230. Another quiet revolution is happening, women stepping into visible leadership. For generations, Jamaican women powered the economy in silence. They tilled fields, ran stalls, and managed households while men migrated for jobs. Now, women are running cooperatives, managing processing plants, and building brands. Microcredit programs are fueling female entrepreneurship. Land ownership laws are opening up. For the first time, women aren't just invisible backbones, they're visible leaders. And that inclusivity makes the revolution stronger and more resilient. Number 9. Fighting the rigged market. Of course, the global system won't clap for Jamaica. In fact, it will fight back. When Jamaica sold raw beans, no one raised too many questions. But now that Jamaica wants to sell branded coffee, suddenly there are endless quality standards, pesticide tests, and certifications. These non-tariff barriers are designed to keep countries like Jamaica in their place. But Jamaica is ready. Instead of begging Europe, it's building ties with Africa, India, Brazil, Turkey, and Indonesia. The Global South is Jamaica's new marketplace. That's not desperation, that's strategy. Number 10. Green twist. Here's the unexpected twist. Unlike the industrial powers that polluted their way to wealth, Jamaica is going green from day one. Solar-powered factories, biogas plants fueled by farm waste, and eco-certified exports are part of the plan. In 2025, Jamaica even launched its own carbon market framework, signaling that clean growth can be profitable growth. While Europe debates climate targets, Jamaica is quietly modeling them. Make no mistake, this isn't just about Jamaica. If this works, it triggers a domino effect. Imagine Ghana refusing to export raw cocoa, Nigeria refusing to export crude oil, Guyana refusing to export raw bauxite. The entire 100-year system of global exploitation collapses. That's why corporations and foreign governments will resist. Tariffs, lawsuits, smear campaigns, they'll try it all. But Jamaica is preparing with lawyers, diplomats, storytellers, and brand strategists. This is economic reform, cultural healing, and psychological warfare combined. The basement of the global economy is gone. Jamaica is stepping onto the ground floor and building upward. If the strategy holds, Jamaica won't just rise. It will ignite a revolution across the Caribbean, Africa, and the global South. The only question now, will Jamaica's bold move succeed, or will the old system strike back? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like if you support Jamaica's fight for sovereignty, share this video, and subscribe for more stories they don't want you to hear. The moment Jamaica announced the ban on raw exports, the ripple effects were immediate. Buyers in London, New York, and Brussels panicked. Their supply chains, which relied on cheap, raw Jamaican goods, suddenly looked uncertain. Commodity markets twitched. Brokers who once controlled the flow of Jamaican coffee, gold, and maize realized their grip had weakened. And so the pushback began. Editorials in major Western newspapers described Jamaica's move as reckless and short-sighted. International trade bodies warned of possible sanctions. Even some multinational corporations hinted they might withdraw investment unless Jamaica reversed course. In truth, none of this was about protecting consumers. It was about protecting profit margins. For Jamaica, the criticism was expected. Any nation that challenges the global order gets painted as irresponsible. But this time, Jamaica wasn't standing alone. Leaders from Ghana, Kenya, and even South Africa sent messages of solidarity, signaling that the island had allies ready to test the same path. Of all Jamaica's exports, coffee became the flashpoint. For decades, multinational corporations treated Jamaican beans as raw fuel for their billion-dollar empires. But now Jamaica was saying, no more. The beans must be roasted, packaged, and branded locally before leaving. Predictably, the corporations fought back. They argued that Jamaican factories couldn't meet global standards. They claimed the packaging lacked supply chain traceability. They even suggested that consumers would lose trust in Jamaican-branded coffee. But here's the irony. The very same corporations had relied on Jamaican beans for decades without questioning their quality. The sudden flood of concerns wasn't about standards, it was about losing control. And Jamaica called their bluff. By opening new markets in Asia and Africa, the government created alternative buyers hungry for authentic Jamaican coffee. Suddenly, the corporations found themselves cornered. Coffee sparked debate, gold triggered something deeper, fear. Jamaica may not be Africa when it comes to gold reserves, but its mines have long fed international refiners. For years, raw Jamaican gold was flown out quietly, melted in Swiss factories, and sold as European bullion. Nobody asked who dug it, who suffered, or who profited least. Now, Jamaica insists on refining its own gold. Instead of bars leaving raw, they leave stamped, made in Jamaica. This terrifies international players. Why? Because branding transforms gold from a commodity into a national identity. Swiss refiners no longer control the narrative. Jamaica does. And once one country succeeds in branding its gold, others may follow. Imagine a world where Africa and the Caribbean no longer sell raw or but polished bullion. Profit shift would be enormous. Another battleground is the sea. Jamaican waters have long been plundered, first by colonial powers, later by foreign companies with giant trawlers. Local fisherfolk sold their catch cheap, while seafood brands abroad raked in fortunes. The new policy changes the tides. Fish can't leave raw anymore. It must be processed, frozen, packaged, and branded locally. First, international distributors scoffed. They said the infrastructure didn't exist. But within months, small processing plants began springing up in coastal towns. Women's cooperatives ran some, private investors funded others, and suddenly fisherfolk who once lived day-to-day started seeing consistent profits. This is the hidden genius of the ban. It doesn't just change exports, it forces entire industries to grow where they never existed. But here's the biggest challenge: skills. Processing goods requires knowledge: how to run machines, maintain standards, manage logistics, and market brands internationally. Jamaica's education system, shaped for colonial service, wasn't built for this. That's why reform is underway. Technical schools now teach food science, logistics management, and design. Universities partner with private companies to offer internships in processing plants. Even high schools are adding entrepreneurship programs. The government's message is clear: the future doesn't belong to clerks. It belongs to builders, creators, and innovators. And slowly, a new generation is answering the call. One of the most inspiring outcomes has been the rise of women in leadership roles. Historically, Jamaican women have always been economic powerhouses, running markets, managing farms, keeping families afloat. But in this new chapter, they're stepping out of the shadows. Take Clarendon, where a women's cooperative runs one of the island's fastest-growing fish processing plants. Or St. Mary, where female entrepreneurs launched a coffee roasting business that now exports directly to Asia. For the first time, women aren't just holding up the economy, they're leading it. And with microcredit programs expanding, thousands more are joining. This inclusivity doesn't just make the economy stronger, it makes it more just. Of course, powerful nations and corporations aren't sitting quietly. They've launched a smear campaign. Articles warn of economic collapse. International consultants claim Jamaica will scare away investors. Financial institutions hint at downgrading credit ratings. It's the classic playbook: punish any nation that dares to break free. But Jamaica has an answer. Instead of bowing to old markets, it's building new alliances. Deals with Turkey, Brazil, and India are already underway. Africa, too, is emerging as a partner. If Europe and America close their doors, Jamaica will knock on others. And here's the truth: the world can't ignore Jamaican products forever. Coffee, gold, seafood, cotton, these are not luxuries for Jamaica. They're necessities for global trade. The smear campaign may slow the revolution, but it won't stop it. Another piece of Jamaica's strategy is sustainability. While older industrial powers polluted their way to riches, Jamaica is going green from the start. Processing plants powered by solar energy, biogas centers fueled by agricultural waste, and eco-certified exports are becoming the norm. Why does this matter? Because modern consumers, especially in Europe and Asia, are willing to pay extra for green products. Imagine Jamaican coffee marketed as eco-roasted or fish sold as sustainably sourced. The value skyrockets. By going green from day one, Jamaica doesn't just compete, it leapfrogs. What scares global powers most isn't Jamaica alone, it's the domino effect. If this works, why wouldn't Ghana stop exporting raw cocoa? Why wouldn't Nigeria refine all its oil before selling it? Why wouldn't Guyana brand its bauxite into aluminum? If multiple nations follow Jamaica's path, the entire foundation of global trade, the cheap extraction of raw resources from the global south, begins to crumble. That's why Jamaica's move is more than economic policy. It's a blueprint for resistance. Resistance, of course, will be fierce. Lawsuits, tariffs, even political interference may follow. But every empire eventually faces resistance. And history shows, once the first domino falls, the others follow faster than anyone expects. Perhaps the most important change isn't economic at all. Psychological. For generations, Jamaicans were told they couldn't compete globally, that their role was to supply, not to create. That success meant leaving for America or Britain. This policy flips that script. Suddenly, staying in Jamaica isn't a failure, it's an opportunity. Students see futures as designers, engineers, and brand owners. Farmers see themselves as partners, not servants. And women see themselves as leaders, not invisible labor. That shift from dependency to confidence may be the most revolutionary change of all. The fight against barriers, 26:30, 29:00. Still, the road ahead won't be smooth. Non-tariff barriers like pesticide limits, packaging certifications, and endless health tests are already being deployed. These aren't really about safety. They're about keeping Jamaica in its place. But Jamaica has prepared. It's hiring international lawyers, investing in testing labs, and building certification agencies. Instead of begging for approval from Europe, it's creating its own standards, then finding markets that respect them. It's a costly battle, but it's the price of freedom. In the end, this policy isn't just about exports. It's about identity. For too long, Jamaica's independence was political but not economic. Now, for the first time in over a century, the island is declaring a new kind of independence. The right to process its own wealth, to tell its own story, and to build its own future. Jamaica's export ban isn't just about coffee, gold, or cotton, it's about dignity. For the first time in generations, Jamaica is choosing authorship over anonymity, value over scraps, and sovereignty over servitude. Yes, the risks are high. The backlash from powerful nations will be fierce. But the alternative, another century of exploitation, is no longer acceptable. This is Jamaica's declaration of true economic independence, and its ripple effects could reshape the entire global South. The only question now is whether other nations will rise too. If you believe in this fight, hit like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories.